Before we go through to the main discussion, let's have some brief overview about Walt Whitman Rostow. Walt Whitman Rostow was an American economist who worked on a growth and development. He believed that the growth and development of society is possible through the capitalist mode of production and the free market policy. He published his 1960 book, The Stages of Economic Growth, a non-communist manifesto that elaborated a linear stages of growth model that defined development as a sequence of stages through which also he described the historical process of transition from underdevelopment to development in terms of a series of 5 stages of growth through which all countries must pass to reach the ultimate destination of a developed country.
Before we tackle about the Rowstow'S modernization theory, let us define first what is theory. Theory is a supposition or a set of ideas intended to explain a phenomenon and/or something. Meaning, theory is a set of proposed explanation whose status is still conjectural and subject to experimentation. But compared to hypothesis, theory implies a greater range of evidence and greater likelihood of truth. Modernization theory is used to explain the process of modernization within societies. There are 2 aspects of modernization. First, it explains why poor countries are underdeveloped. Second, it proposes solution to underdevelopment. Rowstow'S modernization theory is based on the assumption that modernization was characterized by the Western world, which were able to advance from the initial stages of underdevelopment. Since by the end of Second World War, many countries had failed to develop and remained poor. Rowstow'S modernization theory suggested that other countries should model themselves after the West, who are wealthier and more powerful at that time, aspiring to a modern state of capitalism and liberal democracy. Less developed countries basically needed to adopt a similar path to development to the West. With these ideas, Rowstow formulated his stages of economic growth. These are Rowstow'S 5 stages of economic growth. First is the traditional society. Second is the transitional society. Third is the takeoff. Fourth, drive to maturity. And 5th stage is the high mass consumption. Rowstow believes that poor places are in an initial or beginning stage of development, while countries of higher levels of GNP are in a later stage of higher development.
Hello everyone, I am Casey Judeholde and I will discuss to you the first and second stage of Rowstow'S model. The 5 stages of Rowstow'S model. The first stage is traditional society. The second stage is precondition for takeoff. The traditional society is characterized by the subsistence agriculture or hunting and also gathering, believed for almost a wholly primary sector of economy. This stage, also defined as the initial state, dispersed of population living precariously. Hierarchical political power, and they will ask no sense of progress due to limited technology, dominantly believes as a static or rigid society. The second stage is precondition for takeoff. Among the preconditions are the idea that economic progress is possible, and this stage also has an external demand for raw materials initiate for economic change. development for more productive commercial agriculture, and cash crops not consumed by producer and or largely exported. It is also an idea for changing social structure with previous social equilibrium now in flux. And lastly, it develops the national identity and shared economic interests.
Good day everyone, I am Mary Jo Guardo Galindo and today I will be discussing the third, fourth, and fifth stages of model. Stage 3. Takeoff. Rowstow describes this stage as a short period of intensive growth in which industrialization begins to occur and workers and institutions become concentrated around a new industry. The takeoff period is a crucial stage which covers a relatively brief period of 2 or 3 decades. The takeoff is defined as the interval during which the rate of investment increases in such a way that a real output per capita rises, and these initial increases carries with it radical changes in the technique of production and the disposition of income flows, which perpetuate the new scale of investment and perpetuate thereby the rising trend in per capita output. In this stage, urbanization increases, industrialization proceeds, and technological breakthrough occurs. The secondary sector expands. The ratio of secondary versus primary sectors in the economy shifts quickly towards secondary. Textiles and apparels are usually the first takeoff industry, as happened in Great Britain's classic Industrial Revolution. Stage 4. Drive to maturity. This stage takes place over a long period of time as standards of living rise. Use of technology increases and the national economy grows and diversifies. This stage is a long period of self-generating and self-propelling economic growth. The rate of savings and investment of such magnitude that economic development becomes automatic. Overall, capital per head increases as the economy matures. The structure of economy changes increasingly. In this stage, drive to maturity, diversification of the industrial base. Multiple industries expand as the new ones take root quickly. Manufacturing shifts from investments driven towards consumer durables and domestic consumption. Rapid development of transportation and infrastructure. Large-scale investment in social infrastructure like schools, universities, and hospitals. Stage 5. High mass consumption. In this stage, the economy is fully developed and self-sustained. All the goods and services of necessities, comforts, and luxury are produced in the economy itself. The level of consumption, savings, and investments reaches at the maximum. In this stage of development, per capita income of country rises to such a high level that consumption basket of the people increases beyond food, clothing, shelters, to article of comforts and luxuries on mass scales. New types of industries producing durable consumer goods come into existence which satisfy the wants for more consumption. These new industries producing durable consumer goods become the new leading sectors of economic growth. In the stage of high mass consumption, the industrial base dominates the economy. The primary sector is of a greatly diminished weight in economy and society. Widespread and normative consumption of high-value consumer goods. Consumers typically have disposable income beyond all the basics for additional goods.
Hi everyone, I'm Just Mary Illuminato and our assigned topic is Discretism of Rowstow'S model. The Rowstow'S 5 stages of economic growth model is one of the most influential and historical models in economic growth. This model has gained much debate from many scholars and has framed a large majority of thinking in economic development theories. Although this model gained much support, this model can also be criticized. While reading and analyzing Rowstow'S model, I feel Rowstow'S failed to address many questions and failed to include the idea of contextualization in his model. The model makes the presumption that all countries start with the same basic foundation, for example, the same natural resources, climates, population, sizes, and structure. In addition, as this model was based on European countries, this model does not include the development of developing countries that were colonized.
Rowstow is historical in the sense that the end of the result is the outset and is derived from historical geography of developed bureaucratic society. It was criticized with a number of nations, such as the United States, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, were born free for traditional societies, and they derive their conditions from Britain, a country already advanced. So, it is not essential for growth that a country must pass through a first stage, or in other words, traditional society is not essential for development. Rowstow is mechanical in the sense that the underlying motor of change is not disclosed, and therefore the stage that become little more than a classificatory system based on data from developed countries. According to Professor Min, Rowstow stages analysis may not be applicable to all countries. Some countries may in fact jump certain stages during their growth process. This model is based on American and European history and defines the American norm of high mass consumption as integral to the economic development process of all industrialized societies. Another criticism of Rowstow's work, which it was biased towards a Western model of modernization. But at the time of Rowstow, the world's only mature economics were in the West and no controlled economies were in the era of high mass consumption. This model assumes the inevitable adoption of neoliberal trade policies, which allow the manufacturing base of a given advanced polity to be relocated to lower wage regions. The stages are not identifiable properly as the conditions of the takeoff and pre-takeoff stage are very similar and overlap. In short, the stages of economic growth mentioned by Rowstow are not mutually exclusive and they may overlap each other.